The Tournament of Power, the multiverse gathering between all 12 universes in Dragon Ball Super, is coming as we move closer towards the debut of the Dragon Ball Super Universe Survival Arc, and today we'll be sharing our thoughts, opinions, and speculating as to what may or may not happen in the upcoming arc. To be specific, the subject of the Grand Priest and whether or not he may or not be a threat to our heroes in the upcoming arc. Now, joining me here today, guys, to tackle this subject is my good buddy Emosh. You guys can go on ahead and check his channel out down in the description below. And a quick reminder, guys, if your opinions differ from ours in connection to this subject, then feel free to express your thoughts and feelings down below. And be sure to leave a like on the video to show your love and passion for Dragon Ball, essentially, because right now, me and Emosh are about to tackle the subject of the Grand Priest. Now, 'tis the season of Dragon Ball, Emosh. Now, a lot of Dragon Ball YouTubers, fans especially within the community, have been asking, wondering amongst each other on whether or not something like this is possible or bound to happen in Dragon Ball. So I felt the need to share my thoughts on the subject with you, as the subject and topic pertains of this higher being out there turning rogue or going rogue, very similar to Zamasu. So the Grand Priest, Emosh, do you think, in your opinion, I mean, he may be a secret adversary to whoever is going to be a part of this tournament? Because if you think about it, there's 12 universes, 10 fighters per universe, 120 fighters. So, and especially having a look at how grand and how high up on the totem pole the Grand Priest is, do you believe, in your humble opinion, that this might be something to where they're foreshadowing the Grand Priest as some sort of a villain? Or if not, I mean, I want to know your thoughts on just that in specific, because everyone keeps talking about how thus far in the trailer they keep focusing more on the Dai Shinkan more than anyone else, even more so than Zeno. So in your opinion, where do you stand on the Grand Priest possibly being an enemy in Dragon Ball Super? What do you think?
Well, first, thanks for having me. So it's always appreciated.
Always,
and
brother.
As far as the Dai Shinkan, I'm going to refer to him as the Dai Shinkan just because it sounds cool.
Awesome.
Yeah, I'm not going to call him the Grand Priest. I don't think, if you look at it from a perspective where our heroes might end up having to see him as an adversary. Now, an adversary doesn't necessarily mean someone is evil or a villain, right? So it could just mean someone, that he's just an adversary. Like, okay, maybe Goku might end up having to fight him or something like that. I'm not confirming that. I'm not saying that that's what we're going to see, because we all know if we did see that, Goku would get wrecked beyond recognition. It's not even a joke.
Wouldn't even be close.
Just out of discussion. It wouldn't be close as far as the whole fight between Goku and the Dai Shinkan is concerned. Like, that's out of the question. I'm saying if we're looking at the Dai Shinkan as an adversary, then that doesn't necessarily make him a villain. But if we look at him in a sense where he does go rogue, which again, I don't see that as being a part of his character, even though we haven't seen that much of his character. Granted, how his demeanor seems to be so calm. He's always it doesn't look like he has any need to be any kind of to go into the path of being rebellious.
So you're saying that he wouldn't have necessarily a motive to do what he wants to do, or perhaps even an agenda?
No, I don't think so. Other than unless he was pushing for a certain universe to win. Right now, we've seen that he has shown some interest in Universe 7 just because of Goku alone. But that doesn't necessarily mean that he would push or twist or make it so that Universe 7 has an advantage here. So if anything, I would say that he is the overseer of the whole tournament as a whole. Zeno doesn't necessarily seem capable of being someone to put things together or to organize things. So you could say that he's like the Grand Inquisitor. Like he oversees the tournament. He's pretty much the organizer of it.
And for the Omni King to more or less be a little irresponsible, being the fact that there's two of them, so that makes things a lot worse.
Exactly. So it just seems like he's there to speculate and to be entertained. It's kind of like what the Romans did, like the whole Colosseum kind of feel, kind of like 300 or something like that. So that's what it looks like. It's just for the Omni King's entertainment. But for the Dai Shinkan, he's there to organize. And I think up until granted that he's met Goku and he's seen what Universe 7 is capable of, he's taken an interest in them. And more so, I would say that if anything, he would like to see more of Universe 7 fighting. As far as him being a villain, I don't see that being likely at all. He has really no need to be any kind of evil at all. He has no motive.
No, absolutely. I mean, I felt as if, personally for me, I think that if something like that were to occur, it would be very similar to the Zamasu story, because we saw how Zamasu came from a much higher tier, and for him to be, well, he was supposed to be a Kaioshin of Universe 10, but he decided that ever since, he came across this human who had greater power than, that of a god, he just decided to just lose his mind and destroy all humans. And in an essence, I think that if by any chance they were to go down that route and use the Dai Shinkan as an object or an instrument of destruction, similar to Zamasu, it would be a copy and paste kind of thing. Now, the only motive that I could see that, to where the Grand Priest actually has a motive to become evil is if somehow he has something against, you know, Zeno. He wants to take up the role of being, you know, the highest of the high, you know, the king of all. But then again, even with that, it's like, even if by some chance having 120 fighters there, let's say, for example, hypothetically speaking, the Dai Shinkan does become evil, right? Or
Right.
not necessarily evil, but he has like his own agenda, so he starts going against the grain.
Right.
If by some chance that were to happen, you have to ask yourself, it's like, okay, how many people can stop him? I mean, even if you have 120 fighters and granted about like, what is it, 24 gods, is that even going to be enough? Given the fact that his children, Whis and Vados, are incredibly powerful, you can also come to the conclusion that even Whis told Goku at a time when they went to go meet the Omni King at his palace that Whis said never to challenge him because even he himself was no match for him. So you have to ask yourself, it's like you guys can conjure up any fighter you want. It could be Hit, Vegeta, Gohan, Vegito. There wouldn't be anyone out there who can stop him aside from, I think, the Omni King, which I think it would contradict the story because even if the Grand Priest were to become evil, it's like, how do you stop someone who is ranked number 5, or at least in the top 5 of the strongest in the entire realm of existence? And that's kind of hard to, you know, make a judgment on. So you think that, in your opinion, it's, you know, in the realm of possibility of him becoming evil, or do you think that it's just borderline impossible because there wouldn't be a true motive?
Again, it's at this point, like at the time of this discussion, right?
Yes.
We don't have, there's no reason to even. You could speculate. You could say, well, maybe the Dai Shinkan wants the Omni King's position. Well, then again, if something of the sort, that would explain why he's gathering. He's using the Omni King's how oblivious he is. He could be using that against him in a sense where maybe it's an opportunity as to where all the gods are gathered in one place to oversee this tournament. And he can just
destroy them all at once, like right then and there. He could
maybe destroy them, or maybe he could have them go. We all know they don't stand a chance against the Omni King. Nobody stands a chance, you know, against the Omni King. So we know that's not going to happen.
Except for Broly, of course. You already know that.
Well,
you know Broly's God, right? Broly can just defeat everybody, you know.
I've seen a lot of things on YouTube this past weekend.
Just kidding, guys, by the way, because I know certain people are going to say, oh my God, you said Broly? Broly's God? Yeah, just...
Broly. No, I mean, but yeah, all seriousness aside, at this point, at the time of this discussion, the Dai Shinkan at this point has no real motive other than to serve the Omni King and to, you know, basically just allow him to be entertained. I don't understand what the whole motive is behind this anyway. And I don't think if there was a motive, maybe, or in the near future, we'll find out what it is. But at this point, I'm not even sure if the developers have an actual storyline planned out for this other than fighting. You know,
well, they are putting a lot of like focus into this because we already know that so far they're putting a lot of their effort and energy and budget-wise, a lot of their money into this arc. And so I just really hope that the overall character development is there for all the fighters.
It has to be big. They have to do it big. They can't rush it, man, because I know we spoke about this off camera. I felt like they were going to rush it again. You know, it's this topic, this fight, this whole tournament, it's very sensitive. They need to be careful how they approach it. You know what I'm saying? So it's not something that you could just, I mean, certain fights, yeah, like let's say if Roshi fights somebody, yeah, you could just, you know, do a quick picture of who wins that fight and skip on to the next main event.
Right.
You know, but we're not going to see that. You know, they're going to fast forward a lot of, you know, things, you know, as far as fighting is concerned, but they need to be very careful as to how they approach the whole storyline aspect, because I know obviously for all of you guys, I'm assuming everyone is aware that they are putting emphasis on it, whether, you know, it's a do or die situation. If you lose, your universe goes with you. You know what I'm saying? So
no, absolutely.
Right. So I think in the essence where we've been teased now with the last episode where Goku had no choice but to eventually put a hit out on himself to be able to fight Hit at his maximum potential, right? If anything, we could be being teased there in a sense where it's like, okay, well, the only way we're gonna get these fighters to put out 100%, 150% of their potential is if we take out their universe if they lose.
Absolutely.
You know,
now, certain people, and there are a very small bunch that do this, are going to call out and say, it's a lie, the universe is not in jeopardy. Actually, if you guys saw the trailer, in which case I spoke about this, there's a quick little manga screenshot where they show off one of the universes getting blown to bits, and you see Goku, the Supreme Kai, and Beerus' reaction. They were very shocked, except for Beerus, who's really pissed. So you can obviously make the assumption that, yeah, maybe the Omni King is just, you know, making, you know, vague threats just to get everybody to fight serious. In which case, I don't really think that's the case, because we see one of the universes getting blown to bits in the manga. Now, it may not happen in the anime, because we already know how in the anime it's very different than the manga. We saw how Black had Super Saiyan 2 in the manga and never in the anime, so it's very different stuff.
It was weird to see him in with yellow hair. Like it was weird.
No, I mean, but at the same time, it made sense because if you're gonna take someone's vessel and use their body and techniques and transformations, it would only make sense for you to jump, level to level to level rather than just skip. And as we saw in the anime, he just went straight to Super Saiyan Rose, whereas opposed to he got his ass whooped. He got a huge Zenkai boost after Zamasu not revived him, but pretty much healed him, and then he came back. And hopefully enough, in manga chapter number 20, we'll see him become Super Saiyan Rose. Now, the reason why we're actually bringing up the Grand Priest being evil or having to go rogue is because I personally feel, I'm not too sure about Emish, but I personally feel that this tournament isn't going to end the same way as Universe 6 versus 7, because 6 versus 7 ended in an indefinite winner. We had a definite winner, and that was Universe 7. I think that amongst everybody here, you can't really sit there and tell me that there isn't going to be one person, one god, one angel, someone who isn't going to get pissed and say, you know what, the hell with this. I don't care about this tournament. I don't care about, the positions of the gods. What you're doing is wrong, and I'm going to stand up for that. Or at least they're going to have, their own agenda. So I feel as if maybe if a certain universe loses, someone might intervene and call bullshit and try to, fight the Omni King or something. Because if you look at this, so far, there is no indefinite, villain confirmed in a way. I mean, yeah, we still haven't met the fighters, but we can only go based off speculation here because out of all these people here, you can't tell me that each and every single one of them are on the good side. As we saw with Frost, I think what they did with Frost was very ingenious because they gave off that vibe during the Universe 6 tournament that he was good, but in reality, he just wanted, the pay, he wanted all the gold and whatever. Like, he was a war criminal. And, same thing can be adapted in this, a multiverse tournament, as I think that not everyone there is going to have, a decent agenda or a good cause to be a part of this. Similar to Frost, someone might be there to either steal something or gloat about something or even take the position. So in terms of someone else aside from the Grand Priest, what about Vados? Because the reason why I want to bring her up is because everybody wants to talk about, she seems very shady. She seems like such a devious character. She ratted out Champa and almost gave his position out when Zeno confronted everybody about, doing their jobs. And she ratted on Champa for being fat and not listening to her and stuff, and she was pretty much being a bitch. Whereas opposed to Whis was kind of backing up Beerus, but he still gave him out. Whereas opposed to Vados ratted on him completely, and, she wanted to kill Goku and all that kind of stuff. What are your thoughts on someone else aside from the Grand Priest having to possibly be an adversary per se? Like maybe Vados, maybe someone else. Like, do you think it's within the realm of possibility?
Well, yes, because it's Dragon Ball Super. So
okay, well, obviously, yeah.
But I mean, okay. If you look at it, to touch up on your point about, I do agree with you. Like as far as the whole, you have all these fighters and all these people who are not gods, right? Gathered in a tournament to fight for life or death.
And remember what Goku told Hit. I don't mean to interrupt you. Remember when he told Hit that we're not pawns?
Yeah, exactly. So the thing is, see, that's another thing, man. You just struck something else in my head. I don't see it. There's so many things that could happen, man. But I just want to touch up on my point I was going to bring. I do agree with you as far as, yeah, there will be some, some rebellion here and there. I don't think it's going to be amongst the gods, if anything, per se, because we don't know if the respective gods of that universe will die too with it. We don't know that yet.
Right.
But I would say that, yeah, we are going to see some menacing around. We're going to see some rebellion because desperate times calls for desperate measures. It's only natural. Mortals are like that. People are like that. If you see how, if you really want to see how someone is, you just put them in the face of death and you're going to see how they are. So the same rules apply here. We are going to see that. As far as another possible villain, it's not going to be Vados. Vados isn't shady. That's just how her character is. She has no reason to show emotion. She's not like Whis. She's more down. She's more serious in her tone. That's just how she carries out herself. As far as her ratting out Champa, she's the attendant of the God of Destruction, but she ultimately answers to the Omni King. The same way Whis does. So if they decide to rat out their respective gods of destruction because they really don't do a damn thing. It's obvious. Beerus doesn't do anything. When was the last time we saw anything from Beerus? We don't see anything from Champa. He looks like a joke. So one could only, at this point, not have much respect for the other gods of destruction in the other universes at this point. You know what I'm saying? But as far as there being another villain, I don't see it being, again, to touch up on your point, the whole, if you make the villain another godlike figure, we're going back into this whole Zamasu territory in a sense. But at the same time, granted, how they introduced Dragon Ball Super, it was between mortals versus gods. That's how they introduced this whole thing. It was a battle of gods kind of scenario.
Yeah, absolutely. And they've been touching up on like the lore of like men and gods and angels, and I'm just waiting for them to introduce. Hopefully enough one day they'll do it, but hopefully enough they introduce the Makaioshin and stuff like that. But however, you're right. The premise of all of this so far has been gods versus mortals, at least with Zamasu and his intentions, which was very heavenly but also ungodly the way he wanted to go about things. But of course, even going back to Beerus and Goku, mortal versus god. And just like you said, Beerus hasn't done anything, Champa hasn't done anything, and now somebody might say, well, what do you mean? They've done something. Beerus killed Zamasu, and we saw how Beerus fought Champa. Okay, fine, but like in the subject of where Beerus is fighting for something, unlike when he fought Goku, he was we had a premise there. Beerus came, he wanted to eat some food, he had that revoked from him, he got angry, he wanted to blow the earth up, Goku wanted to defend it. I mean, good premise. After that, nothing really happened. He's not fighting for something. He's not fighting to destroy someone or something. It's just more or less, like you said, he's being lazy. However, now, I think that they've given the right, I guess you could say, like, kind of tone into, like, how to approach this tournament. Because we see Whis training with Vegeta, which is pretty cool. However, we see Beerus, who's, like, he's concerned, but he's more or less like, all right, well, you train him. Well, why can't Beerus train somebody? I mean, if your title of God in this universe is on the line, how come you don't do anything to like step up with the fighters that you're going to be essentially putting in this tournament? It's just like, so do you see like there being any friction between the gods?
Well, no. I mean, if you let's look at it this way. If you had an opportunity, I mean, you could be right, but if you had an opportunity to train with Beerus, to pick or choose. If you could choose between training with Beerus and Whis, who would you pick?
Oh, obvious, it would be Whis.
I would pick the master of that specific god of destruction.
Right.
I would pick the master of that guy who's kicking my ass. You know what I'm saying? That's an honor. I think that's a much higher. It's like skipping. It's like if you're in grade 10, you do so well in grade 10 that they don't even put you in grade 11.
You are absolutely right. But however, if you look at Whis and his training, Whis just seems more or less like the kind of guy that wants to like kick back, and if he's hungry, he's gonna stop. Like similar to what happened so far. I mean, we see how Vegeta was struggling, but it wasn't anything like intense. Like we haven't seen Whis, on the offensive. He was more or less on the defensive. Every single time Vegeta tried to attack, he dodged. He blocked it. He's blocked his life. However, I think it'll be opposite with Beerus. I think Beerus would go on the offensive a lot because he wants to inflict pain. But aside from that, it's just like having a look at this tournament so far. It's kind of hard to say like, okay, yes, it's going to be one of the angels. It's going to be one of the gods who gets their universe destroyed, and they're going to say, fuck it. It could be anything. I think that because there have been so many theories, and again, theories that have propped up suggesting that it's going to be the Grand Priest because maybe he has some sort of a knack of becoming number one and he wants to take the place of the Omni King. And now that there's two Omni Kings, there might be something of that. Now, I also want to touch up a little bit on that. There's two Omni Kings. How do you think this is going to carry on? Because what if one of the Omni Kings, favors something that happens in a fight and the other one says, no, overruled, like you can't do that. Like what if one disagrees with the other and there's friction? What happens then? What do you think?
See, man, this is why I didn't like the whole idea of there being two. When we did discussion a while back, I think it was a live stream. I don't remember what it was, but we talked about, it was a live stream, and people were asking if there being more than one Omni King is a possibility, and just granted by his name alone. Well, some people even said, well, he's the Omni King, he's omnipresent. That doesn't necessarily mean that there isn't more than one. No, I'm talking about it in a sense where it makes sense. You have someone who claims to be the epitome of everything in the universe. And we're not talking about parallel universes. We're not talking about anything. We're talking about the epitome of every single thing. And now all of a sudden there's more than one. What it does is it takes away from his character. It takes away from who he is, and it takes away from his position. Because now, it's you're right. It can be, okay, well, what if I disagree with you now? Let's say if there was two of me and two of you. Kind of like, the whole Trunks and my thing now, right? What if one disagrees with the other? Then what? And granted, as to what they're capable of, just because of who they are, the Omni King, he was in a bad mood one day, and he just got rid of a bunch of universes. So who's to say, if anything, it won't be a 6-on-6, 6 universes versus another 6 universes, where one Omni King might take possession of 6, one half of the segment, and the other Omni King takes another half of the segment.
Ooh, that would be pretty good, though.
No, but it would be. But see, that's
winner
what I'm
takes
saying,
all kind of thing.
Because it's it's not a coincidence that there's an even number of universes entering this tournament. You could look at it where it's 120 fighters facing against each other, but maybe because there's 2 Omni Kings, maybe one Omni King might want to take half of the 12 universes as opposed to the other Omni King wanted to take the other half of the 12 universes, and then it creates this big other thing. But again, that's all speculation. As far as the Dai Shinkan wanting a higher position, he looks to be pretty happy with his position. Even before he met Goku, when he was first introduced, he seemed pretty, satisfied with his position. He had no problems. He didn't object to anything. But it all depends on how he felt as to because the only god who actually reacted and felt negatively as to everything that's happening was Zamasu. And he was right. Look at all these rules that are being broken, right? And he was the only one to actually object to that. Look at the Dai Shinkan. Look at all these angels. Look at all these other gods. They're not doing a damn thing in the present timeline. So it's up in the air, really. As far as how the Dai Shinkan feels, we don't know yet because we haven't seen much of his character other than, when Goku brought the other Omni King to Zeno, and then, Dai Shinkan asked, oh, well, was this your idea? The first thing he's asked was if this was your idea. He asked Whis directly. He didn't ask anybody else. You know what I'm saying? He asked Whis directly, was this your idea? And
right.
Whis said, no, it was Son Goku's. And he was like, oh, I envy Universe 7. So if anything, he's taking more of an interest in...
a liking to Universe 7.
Or just into mortals in general, right? The same way the Omni King is taking an interest in the mortals in general. So it just depends, man. I don't know. It's anything could happen. I just don't see the Dai Shinkan being any kind of a villainous character. He could be an adversary, and that would be healthy for the series because, it's bad enough that people want to see Beerus fight again. People want to see Champa fight, seriously. People want to see what these other gods are capable of because the developers are putting them on such high of a plateau, of claiming them to be the strongest in all the universes, but they're not doing anything. Okay, so
or maybe I don't mean to cut you off, but maybe since they're focusing a lot on the trailer when you see the Grand Priest, like you see him in more than just one shot, maybe right before there is an indefinite winner, let's say for example out of all 12 universes there is one that actually wins, but right before you get to keep your own universe, the fighters of that respective universe have to go up against the last person, that being the Grand Priest. What if like the Grand Priest is like the Shao Kahn, like the last big boss that you have to fight after?
Finish him.
After all the other universes are over and done with, because I don't think that they're showing him off for nothing. There has to be like a red herring or a foreshadowing or something going on with him to where we get to see more or less about, maybe he gets involved in something. Maybe he has like a little sparring match with Son Goku, because maybe Goku's actually going to go against Whis' words and say, hey, I want to spar with you a little bit. Can you just show off what you got?
Unless you go back, unless we bring up your previous point where Hit and Goku mentioned to them that we're more than pawns. We're not just pawns. Let's show them that we're not just pawns. And what happens is over some course during the tournament, because the mortals just say, you know what, fuck this. We're not just here for your entertainment. Obviously, I know I'm not that strong. I'm not the strongest in all 12 goddamn universes.
Yeah, but dude, there's nothing they can do against fighters like this.
Listen, but that's the thing. I agree. But in Dragon Ball terms, anything is possible.
Yeah,
and we've
absolutely.
seen that time and time again. But that's Endgame. We're talking about Endgame as far as this.
Speaking of Endgame, is this it? Is this the final arc? What do you think? Because I don't think you can make it any bigger than this. Like, this is like, you have a lot on the line. Universe 6 versus Universe 7, you didn't really have like any stakes, like any really high stakes. Yeah, I mean, the Earth was gonna get swapped and whatever, but this is like, dude, this is gonna be responsible for the death of trillions and trillions. How much bigger can you get from this? So in your opinion, going into 2017, is this going to be, and of course they're going to stretch it out, hopefully enough, but is this going to be, in your opinion, the final Dragon Ball arc before we go off and we close the entire story off with possibly going into the martial arts tournament with Oob and stuff? Like, do you think this is going to be the be-all, end-all finale of Dragon Ball Super?
Well, this is their time to correct themselves for everything they did wrong with the whole Zamasu arc, with how great it was, how perfect it was introduced, how highly intense it was up until towards the end. I think majority of people will agree that it was rushed. The ending of that was rushed.
Oh yeah, it was poorly executed. I mean, think about it. It ended in November, I believe early November. Up until that point, we've gotten filler. They could have easily just dragged it on up until this point.
Right, easily. But like I said, that's over and done with. But like I said, like I mentioned earlier in our discussion, they have to be very, very, very careful, man, as to how they approach this. Because if one little slip up, and people will flip out. People will flip out. I mean, I'm one of them. I'm sure you will. There's a lot of people who are going to flip out, but then you have another section of people who will just capitalize on their mistake or something like that, and then create a bunch of other discussions that have nothing to do with what's going on or what should have happened or what could have happened. But you think about it, man. I mean, if in the beginning we had battle of gods, right?
Yeah.
And now, even at this time, if this is the end, again, we're ending off with a battle of gods again. But that's why I feel like maybe, man, if you look at Goku's character alone, just Goku alone, you think he's gonna be okay with seeing all these other people lose their planets, lose their homes?
No, absolutely not. No.
Universes? You understand what I'm saying? So that's what I'm saying. It just, we know he's not like that. We know he's compassionate, right? And he's even capable of swaying other people to feel the same way. Look at Hit. He was a cold-blooded killer. He had no remorse. He had no reason for showing any kind of emotion towards anybody. He had no reason for showing any kind of respect towards anybody, because he was the top of the food chain, in essence, right? It doesn't matter how strong you are, but he knew how to kill you in one shot. All of a sudden, he meets Goku, and his whole personality changes. He has so much respect for Goku. Look at guys like Piccolo back in the day. Bad guy. Boom. He respects him now. He's one of his best friends. He's even shown mercy to enemies who wanted to destroy the Earth. Forget the universe.
Right.
His whole planet. So you take that into consideration. You take that into also in the fact that the Dai Shinkan has shown such a great interest in Goku that the Omni Kings, both of them now, not just one but two, have respect for Goku, right?
They have more respect for Goku than they do the actual gods of destruction.
Right. You have the Eternal Dragon, who's very aware of as to who Goku is. Beerus respects Goku, whether people agree with that or not. He does have some sort of respect for him. He is the strongest person he's fought, right? Goku, I think, is the strongest person Beerus has fought so far.
Well, actually, aside from Whis, yeah.
I mean, but Whis doesn't count. That's his trainer.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? But as far as combat goes, he's the strongest person we've seen so far. So they will put a big emphasis on Goku. I don't see it being, okay, well, everybody's just going to be okay with everybody losing their universes. Because now, see, the thing is, we've only seen what potentially happens to people if they lose the fight, meaning they lose their universe. We don't know what happens to the fighters themselves. Will they be killed off too? Or will they be forced to migrate somewhere else? We don't know that yet. We just see a universe, in the trailer, we just see something exploding, a universe, a planet. Everything goes boom. So we don't know what's going to happen to the actual fighters who lose the tournament. Where are they going to end up? I imagine, man, that it might end up being a battle of gods thing again, where, again, like I said, it doesn't make sense for them to stand up to the Dai Shinkan, let alone the guards, let alone the Omni King. Let's just put the Dai Shinkan out there. We know how strong he is. We've yet to see it, but I don't know, man. That's why I say they got to be careful how they approach this whole thing, because they can't mess it up. They cannot rush it. They got to be careful with it. And so many people are going to be tuning in, bro. So many people are going to be tuning. Look how many people were tuning in just to see Goku versus Hit, and look how they handled that.
Oh, that was just poorly executed, man. And I don't know, maybe we might see them fight again too, but this all boils down to the Grand Priest, because everyone has been talking about, man, there's something sinister about him. And, hey, listen, sometimes certain people, they tend to mask things very, very well. Right. They tend to mask their emotions and, their feelings and even their true intentions. So, I mean, is it possible? Of course it is. As you said, it's just Dragon Ball. But, for that to happen, I think it'll be very reminiscent to Zamasu's story, because he went from being this rogue apprentice, he was supposed to be the soon-to-be Kaioshin, and he just said, you know what, in the manga, he saw everything through GodTube, and he got mad. In the anime, he met Goku, and he got mad. So it's just, hey, it's going to be very interesting to see what happens, because, as you said, this is the fate of trillions and trillions of lives, man. Right. And there's not much that Goku can really do to sit back and he's going to say, well, I disagree with this tournament because lives are being murdered. It's like, what are you going to do? What are you going to do against not just one, but two Omni Kings and the Grand Priest? You can't.
But we know Goku doesn't care. We know Goku's an idiot. He thinks Goku is that type of dude who you put a line in front of him and you say, don't cross, he'll cross it. He won't even cross it. He'll just fly over it and say, what? I didn't see that line. What are you talking about? He doesn't know when to close his mouth, and he's always been that dude that just steps up to, regardless. If he feels something is wrong, he'll say, listen, guys, why are we doing this? Can't we just fight for the sport of it? Can't we put something else on the line, or this or this? Put like in Universe 6 when he asked for the life or death rule to be taken out. Let it. If I die, I die. No big deal. Goku's used to dying by now.
Right.
why does a universe have to be destroyed? Like, holy crap! Forget a planet, like your home planet. Each fighter's respective planet loses. You lose it. The whole universe, it's kind of overkill.
Yeah, it's just like dude. And it's bad enough that Whis told the story about how he blew up 6 last time. Now it's just all 12 are on the line. He doesn't give a shit. I mean, it's just like, all right, if he gets rid of all 12, so what? He can just play with himself.
But as far as the Dai Shinkan and going back into Zamasu territory, I do see the Dai Shinkan being the type of dude to back up his words, because all we got from Zamasu was just talk. I am a god. That's all we got from Zamasu.
Yeah.
But up until ultimately where Trunks sliced him in half, and Zelda'd him in half, that was it. But then all of a sudden, Zamasu finally, he did better off without Black. It wasn't until he split up with Black that he actually destroyed something. You know what I'm saying? So, but I do see the Dai Shinkan being someone to actually carry out his agenda. If he wants to destroy something, if he wants to put something down, I don't think he would be the type of dude to just come out and just destroy something. But I think because everyone is so aware, because if you look at the trailer, it shows all the gods bowing down, right? Out of respect.
Right.
But what this is telling us is that I think the gods and Supreme Kais aren't going to be emphasized as much anymore. They're not the top of the food chain no more, because now we're going into higher territory. Now
even higher than the gods, yep.
We're going into the Grand Priest. We're going into the Omni King. Ultimately, you're right. The Dai Shinkan is the centerpiece here. We don't know what his involvement is going to be in this arc. I am saying he is going to be the organizer. He is going to be the overseer, the Grand Inquisitor, as far as in terms of in-depth detail as to what happens. Zeno, he's just there just to observe and have fun. Yay, Goku! Yay, this, whatever.
Yeah.
But
so you're emphasizing and saying that the Grand Priest is gonna be like the Grand Referee, right? He's just gonna be like, all right, yes, no, yay, boom. But then again, it's just like, even if, like I said before, even if, guys, if the Grand Priest is actually someone who was deceiving everyone, and in essence, it's like, how do you stop him? I mean, I'm not entirely sure if the Omni King is really going to care too much, unless, of course, similar to Zamasu, he says, oh, he's annoying me, whatever, and then he takes him out.
Right.
But then it's just like, on an individual basis, guys, you can't really expect Goku, Gohan, Vegeta, Beerus, Champa, Whis, Vados, Hit, Kaba, anyone else among the 120 fighters and gods there to even be close to the Grand Priest's power. Like, people don't tend to understand. Like, I remember I got a few comments saying, well, the Grand Priest is lying about his power. He's not really all that. Are you kidding me? Like, Whis even told Goku, do not challenge this man. You think I'm fucking strong. Like, just don't. And, I really think that at some point, Goku, despite what happens, Goku's going to say, hey, so can I get, like, a little taste of what you can do? Because, like...
He's gonna die.
Yeah, probably. I mean, fucking Hit stopped his heart with just a punch. Imagine what the Grand Priest can do. So, but post your comments down below, guys. What are your overall thoughts on the Grand Priest? Do you guys think that he is some sort of deceptive monster that's hiding and masking his true emotions? Or, just like Emosh said, do you guys believe that he is... a genuine person, someone who's just going to be overlooking everything? And who do you guys think is going to be the main villain per se, or someone who's going to be going up against the grain here? Is it going to be one of the fighters, or is it going to be one of the gods? Comment down below and let us know, guys. Thank you guys so much for watching. It's been 30 minutes so far. Thank you so much, Emosh, for being a part of this. You guys can go ahead and subscribe to his channel. His channel will be located down below, guys. Thank you all for watching. As always, post your comments down below if you guys enjoyed. Make sure to leave a like on the video, subscribe for more daily content, and myself and Emosh will be seeing you guys in the next video. Take it easy, guys. Peace.